these videos are going to be monthly reading updates anymore. It's more of, if I read any more manga, I will not be able to talk about it all in one video type of video. So here is a reading update. First off, my manga buying ban goal. Going good on the not buying manga. I did buy one volume of manga today. I bought My Happy Marriage Volume 3, but that is within my allowed volumes of manga. So I am doing great on my manga buying ban, at least in the not buying part, but in the reading part, not so good. So this is my little tracker, and so far you can see I read 27 volumes of manga, and I kind of split it up into months and how many I need to read in that month to like get to my goal, which is 100, and I am very behind. I was supposed to get up to 44 by the end of May, and it is the end of May and I only have 27. So need to really pick up the pace on reading. There are more than 27 volumes of manga in here, and I believe some of them I started before the ban started, so they didn't count. So let's talk about it. I think I have 32-ish volumes of manga in this video, so hopefully it goes by quickly. A lot of it is series, so I will talk about them all together. Okay, so the first two that I want to talk about is My Special One, volumes 1 and 2. This is by Momoko Koda, and it is published by Viz Media under Shoujo Beat. So this manga is about a girl who like hates handsome men, and then one day she runs into this very famous idol, and they kind of strike up some sort of relationship, and she ends up falling for him. So this person who hates handsome men for whatever reason, I can't remember the reason, ends up falling for like a guy whose job it is to be a hot guy. So she ends up like kind of finding out what his job as an idol is like, and then who he is as a person, which is most important. And it's really fun. Like, I thought it was just going to be kind of like your run-of-the-mill idol romance without anything super special to it, but it's actually really cute. Volume 2 especially was really, really emotional. You find out about our main guy, what is his name? Oh, Kota. So you find out about Kota, who is the idol, his past in volume 2, and you find out about all of this tragedy that has followed him and kind of like how that has affected him as a person, and it was super, super emotional. I found myself crying a little bit because just like his backstory is so tragic, and you kind of see like this guy whose job it is to bring other people's happiness and how sad his life has been. So it was really, really interesting to read. I really like the characters. They're really fun. The idol, like the main guy, hit Kota, he like volume 2 has brought a lot of dimension to his character. Our main girl is like really earnest and just kind of wants the best and wants people to be happy, you know? She like really cares for the people who she cares about, and I really like that about her. I really like this series. It really surprised me. I feel like this is really good for people who like idol romances. Also, if you know anything about like Japanese idol culture, there's a lot of like little Easter eggs in here. There's some stuff about his concert at like Tokyo Dome, and like there are magazines, and like kind of like there's a storyline about some sort of like scandal, and just like seeing like the I guess the names that they come up with for the magazines to like avoid copyright or whatever. So if you know anything about like Japanese idol culture, then just like seeing those things, be like, oh, I know what that magazine is in real life, is really, really fun. And then I read 3 volumes of Golden Japanesque. I read volumes 3, 4, and 5 of this manga, and I liked the first two volumes of this. Like, I wasn't in love with it, but I thought it was a really fun kind of like historical romance about this girl who is trying to like come out of her shell, and it's still a little bit like this, but there's really nothing super special about this. There is a lot of time covered in one of these volumes, like 2 or 3 years is basically like skipped over in this, and it was really jarring. I feel like they started out with one story and then realized there was not a lot there, so they rushed it to add like a second love interest and to create like this conflict, and it's just like it's not really anything special. I don't understand the chemistry between the main couple anymore, and of course they've added this second male lead in that is kind of trying to disrupt things, and it doesn't super work for me. Like, I love historical romances, especially in kind of like this Meiji or like Taisho era time, like the period of time where like Japan is becoming like westernized or whatever. I really love that time period and romances in that time period, and so I had really high hopes for this one, but it just really wasn't clicking for me. I just feel like the story lost its way, and I just didn't like the direction that it ended up going. I think it's okay, but I don't know. I feel like it really lost its way somewhere in there. So I'll probably continue it. It seems to be on some sort of weird hiatus, or there's not very many updates about it. Very weird. I haven't really looked into it that much because I haven't been super invested, but I'll probably finish it out, but not gonna rush to get this one anymore. It's just all over the place. Okay, and then we have Snow White with the Red Hair, volume 23. I mean, we're very far into this series, and like I've said before, Snow White with the Red Hair right now is just more about vibes to me. There is kind of like a bunch of new characters that have been introduced in the current arc, and thank God we are out of the like plant research arc, because I hated that one. But this one has a little more intrigue. There are a bunch of new characters. There's a little bit of a mystery going on. So really like this. I'm kind of like, I don't know how this is still ongoing, and I'm not hating on Snow White with the Red Hair because I would read about these characters forever, but I want like some more like development with our characters. We keep on getting like, it's just everybody is separated, and I don't like it. I want everybody to be together again, and just like have something happen. I have a feeling eventually we might get something with Kiki, but and kind of like what's going on with her. No spoilers, but yeah. Snow White with the Red Hair, purely a vibe read. It's still very good. I love it so much. Yeah, I do like this arc though, with these kind of like this mystery and these new characters, and try to find out what everything is. Everything is very low stakes in this. There's one arc with like those twins in the Northern Lord or whatever. That was a little more high stakes, especially because Mitsuhide ended up with PTSD after it. But still really love Snow White with the Red Hair. Not going to talk too long about this. And then I read two connected series, and they are old shoujo series. So the first one is Urara, and this is by Chika Shiomi. And this is printed under Viz, under Shoujo Beat. It is 5 volumes long, so it's pretty short. And it is about this girl who can see ghosts, and she is kind of like possessed by this other spirit. She turns into this other person in order to fight ghosts and heal spirits, basically. She has these 2 boys at school who also can see ghosts, and they have kind of like supernatural powers type things, and they help her. There's a romance element to it, kind of like a love square type thing going on with Urara, the ghost that she turns into, and then the 2 boys. It's really fun. I really like the dynamic between the 2 boys. They kind of have this like rival thing going on, and it's really fun, kind of like the way they argue and the way that the author depicts that argument is really fun and unique and just really cute. I do feel like that the main girl, Urara, kind of gets lost in this like thing with the ghost that she turns into. I feel like the ghost is a little more important than the main character herself, so that might be my only criticism, is that we don't get a lot of development with her, but it's still really fun, great, like short supernatural read. Really good. The next series that I read was Rasetsu, and this is the sequel to Urara, but you do not have to read Urara first in order to get Rasetsu. There are one of the main guys, Yako, is one of the guy characters in Urara, and they kind of allude to maybe some things that happen in Urara. There are some cameos and stuff like that, but I feel like you will really understand this story without reading Urara. They're kind of separate. They just have like characters that share the same, like they just share characters basically. Rasetsu is really good. I was really surprised by this. This is about this girl who is, when she's like 16 or something like that, she is cursed by a demon, and the demon tells her that if she doesn't find her true love by the time she is 20, then he's gonna come and take her away, and she'll be his, basically. And so it's about Rasetsu, our main girl, and she is working at a like agency that takes care of supernatural problems. Basically, they get rid of ghosts. They're Ghostbusters, is what I'm saying. And all of the people in this agency know about Rasetsu's problem and are trying to help her, you know, get the magic powers in order to defeat this demon if she cannot fall in love before the demon comes. We do have Yako, who is from Urara. He comes and joins the agency and kind of helps them out, and he is intrigued because Rasetsu looks like the ghost that used to possess Urara in Urara, and he was in love with that ghost. So he kind of has this, Rasetsu has this like image of his past love, so he's really intrigued by that. I really enjoyed this series. It was a lot of fun to read. I like all of the characters and kind of the supernatural elements in it. The romance was really good. There's a sort of like will they won't they type of thing, and a does he like me type of thing, of people being dense, and it doesn't, I mean, like, that does seem really tropey, and it is, but I think it's really well done. Like, you can have tropes and have it not be bad. It's fine. There are parts of the series that get really, really dark. There's a lot of stuff about grief in here because they are getting rid of like old like ghosts and like exorcising ghosts basically. So there's a lot of stuff like this. Part of me believes that this series is sort of like a metaphor for like sexual assault. I feel like you could read it that way. It doesn't explicitly say that, just with the way that like Rasetsu reacts to this demon sort of thing and the way that everything gets resolved. I feel like you could kind of read it that way. It definitely isn't explicit with that at all, and I don't know if that was the author's intent, but I was kind of thinking about that as I was reading it. I got those kind of vibes, but it's not like, anyway, it's really, really good. If you're looking for like a good, the art is also like really, really nice. This is the same mangaka that did Yukariism, which is kind of like a time travel reincarnation series. It's only 4 volumes long, and I really, really like. I read it a while ago, but I was really shocked on how much I like it. And Chika Shiomi's like art is really beautiful. I feel like she doesn't get enough credit, but it's really nice, and I really like her as a mangaka. So if there are more works of hers printed in English, I want to read them. And then next up, I finally finished this series, and there will be a video about it at some point. And I keep on saying that I'm gonna make a video about this thing, but I have to think a lot. But I finally finished Fushigi Yugi. Oh my god. Okay, so Fushigi Yugi was one of the first manga that I ever read, but I never read the whole thing. I only read a few volumes of it because I am old, and so I read it in the like original like Tokyo Pop versions where it was like flipped. So you read it the way you would read a US book. So yeah. So I've never read the whole Fushigi Yugi manga. I have seen the anime like 2 or 3 times maybe. I love Fushigi Yugi, one of my first manga ever. It is beautiful. I love it. I have finally finished the manga, and I love it so much. Fushigi Yugi, difficult to say, but excellent manga. I will say that, so with the Fushigi Yugi manga, there is the main story, like the whole Universe of the Four Gods, Suzaku versus Seiyu arc, and once that is completed, like where the anime ends, I thought that was the end of the manga. It is not. There's this whole other second part that, I'm not going to put any spoilers, but there's a second part to it. And I don't like the second part, like, at all. It's not great. I feel like the story is weak. It goes on for too long. And I feel like it was only written because the series was so popular that they wanted to continue it. You can stop at the end of, like, the Suzaku thing. I don't know where to call it. In, like, the first part of it. You can stop there and be perfectly fine. The second part just kind of goes farther. A lot of, like, the people who show up don't really make sense because of things that happened in the previous, like, story. I feel like Miyaka does go through a lot more, like, growth and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like if the main Fushigi Yugi is about, like, kind of Miyaka becoming a young woman, I guess, or, like, growing up, and then the second part of it is, like, Miyaka becoming, like, a full on woman. I don't know if that makes sense or whatever. My thoughts are not completely formed on this. I'm working on it, but it's just not as good. It doesn't have the same magic. I feel like a lot of things don't make sense, and it really feels like it was just there because it was so popular and they didn't want to end it right away. So, but the main Fushigi Yugi series, beautiful, perfect, love it so much. Of course, it does have its problems. It's really melodramatic, but it's still, like, that's fine. It's an epic fantasy romance adventure. Like, melodrama is fine. There's plenty of other stuff in here. There's plenty of, like, crazy action stuff that makes up for all of the Miyaka Tamahome stuff. So you can get through it. There is excellent, like, action. There's one of the sidebars, like, Yuwatase said that she, like, held back on the action and the violence because it's a shoujo manga, and I'm like, this is her holding back. There's some, like, crazy shit in here. So I would love to have Yuwatase, like, go, like, I would have loved to have her, like, go ham on the action and the violence in this and still have it be a shoujo manga. But Fushigi Yugi is amazing. It is one of my favorites and one of my essential shoujo mangas. Just maybe not the second part to it. Yeah, I'm so glad I finally finished this. I could talk about Fushigi Yugi for 400 hours. Then we have Tsubaki-cho Lonely Planet, Volume 2 by Mika Yamamori. This is published by Yen Press. I really like this series. I know it is kind of dubious with the age gap romance, but honestly, I don't care. Like, I'm an adult woman, I don't care. Like, I understand, but it's really fun. It's really charming. The art is excellent. I love the way that Mika Yamamori, like, panels her manga. It's gorgeous, just the layout of it. I love the screen tones that she uses. She doesn't use, like, the classic flower stuff. She uses a lot of stars and sparkles, and it just gives it a really, like, whimsical feeling to it. It's really great. Like, her characters are so cute. This is, like, she knows how to lay out a page. I'm just saying. But I really like this story. I think it's really cute. It's really fun, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Then we have Queen's Quality Volume 17. I'm so excited. Okay, another excellent volume of manga from Kyosuke Motomi. Of course, this is my favorite series, so I love it. It's so, like, crazy and dark and just, like, disgusting. Like, oh my god, I just want an anime. I just want an anime by the right studio, done right, because this shit would look so freaking cool. So I read this and I use the word read loosely, chapter in Japanese in Betsukami a while ago, and was very worried because my Japanese is not all there, and really worried about Kyutaro, but it's fine. I'm not gonna say any more. But like, I am just like stunned by the emotion and like the beauty that this series has. I just can't praise it enough. Like, you need, like, oh, it looks so cool. It's so cool. Like, please, like, look at this shit. Look at it. It's so good. So yeah, was really worried about Kyutaro. It's fine. We found out a lot of like kind of like backstory information. It's excellent. Love it. So Queen's Quality 17, excellent. There's also a simulpub on the Viz manga app, if you haven't heard, and I have never been more excited about anything in my entire life. So we have that. And then I read Oshi no Ko Volume 1. And this is by Aka Akasaka and Mengo Yokoyari, and it is published by Yen Press. This is like the manga and the anime of the moment right now. I don't like it very much. Okay, so I picked this up because I knew it was gonna be popular, okay? And two is I like manga about idols because I love idols. But I don't like this because there's so many things I don't like about this. I'm sorry, I don't like it. I think it's inherently really creepy. Okay, this entire volume creeps me out. There are certain panels that I hate. I'm like, why did you draw it that way? What was the point of this perspective? If only to be creepy. The whole, like, adults being reincarnated into their favorite idols, like children, and then as babies having the knowledge of their past life. It's so creepy. And the way that they respond to their young teen mother is really creepy to me. Did not make me feel nice at all reading it. I don't like the way that they talk about idols, and that is coming from like my perspective as an idol fan, and I know I am drinking like the Delulu idol Kool-Aid, but I feel like this is has a really cynical view of idols and the way that they view their own jobs, and I feel like that's not completely like true. I mean, it doesn't have to be true, but I feel like it gives like a really bad image towards idols. And I know that the idol industry is not all sunshine and rainbows, and maybe some people are just out there to make money and whatever, but I just don't like this. This puts like forth the idea that like all idols are liars and stuff like that, and they're like actors. It's not lying, is they're acting, and I don't know. I just don't like the cynical view of the idol industry. And I understand that there are problems with the idol industry and criticisms, and it's not for everybody or whatever, but I feel like since this is so popular, people are gonna have that impression of idols and of idol culture, and it's not entirely true, okay? That's my opinion on this. It's apparently people are like, oh, it gets really good, but I always have that background knowledge of the characters as babies and their actions and their reactions to things, and it's just creepy. I will probably read up to 3 volumes, but I might, if it still like creeps me out, I'm not gonna read anymore. That's my rant on Oshi no Ko. And the last thing that I read was the entirety of A Silent Voice. So I have the box set for this. Very cute. And all of the volumes. Love it. I have had this on my TBR and on my shelf for literal years. I got it for like Christmas one year and have not read it. But I finally read it literally yesterday. So I had seen the movie previously, like a few years ago. So I knew the story and I knew what happened, but I wanted to read the manga to kind of see what was going on there. And from what I remember, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but it was pretty like faithful adaptation. I think you get a few more perspectives and things that weren't in the movie, but still really good. I think this manga has a really big like emotional impact, and I feel like if you already know what the story is, then it doesn't work. Like if you already know what those like big emotional beats are, you don't have the same reaction to it because it's a little bit shocking. So the movie was like devastating to me, and so the manga was less, but I knew what was gonna happen, so that's why it didn't destroy me, which was really good because I didn't really feel like being destroyed yesterday. Yeah, A Silent Voice is first off, this is by Yoshitoki Oima, and it is published by Kodansha Comics. I have the box set, but it also is sold as individual volumes. So this manga and this story is a little bit controversial because it is about a young boy, Shoya, and he ends up bullying this deaf girl that transfers to his class. He basically bullies her until she quits school, and it's really traumatic for her. And then since she transfers schools because of him, everybody else in his class kind of like turns it back on him, and since he was kind of the ringleader of it, he gets ostracized by everybody else, even though they kind of participated in it. And then his life is kind of like lonely and terrible through high school. And then in high school, he reconnects with the girl, Shoko, the deaf girl from his class that he bullied endlessly. He reconnects with her, apologizes, and kind of wants to repent. So it is a story about kind of like trying to be a better person and repenting for your past sins, and kind of like learning what it means to be a good person and what it means to be a good friend and that sort of thing. So it is ultimately a story about Shoya. Without too many spoilers, Shoko is also a really big part of the story, and the things that she goes through. And I feel like I wanted more of Shoko's perspective. And of course, I know the story is not about her, it's about Shoya and his kind of repentance for his sins. But I wanted more from Shoko because I feel like her story was a little more interesting, and she is less of a shitty person than he is. I don't remember how it is depicted in the movie, but I know a lot of the discussion about this is like people take it as like some sort of like romance in here, and maybe the movie went a little farther with that than the manga does. But there's not, and people were like, oh, I don't really like that it's a romance. There's like a romance element between like the bully and the bullied later in life. But there's not really any of that. There's like a tiny bit of it, but it's really a story about friendship. So I feel like if you go into this like wanting any sort of like romance, it doesn't have that, and that's like not the point of it. I think Shoya is like decidedly like against having romantic feelings for Shoko. It's still a really good story, even though A Sign of Affection is a much different story. It is a way different story than A Silent Voice. They both do feature deaf characters, and I think it's really interesting how they depict sign language or how they would communicate between the two manga. I think I prefer the way that it's done in A Sign of Affection, but also that is more from the perspective of the person who is deaf in the manga than this one. So that might have something to do with it. But I think A Sign of Affection depicts the sign language a little more clearly than it does in A Silent Voice, which is totally fine. They're totally different like types of manga. They have different goals, and it's fine to show sign language in different ways. The only thing I didn't look up with A Silent Voice is if like the author had any sort of like consultation with like people who are hard of hearing for this manga. I know A Sign of Affection does, but I don't know what kind of like research the manga did with people who are hard of hearing in a silent voice. So I'll have to look that up, and maybe I'll put something in the comments about it. That was really, really long, but that's all of the manga that I've read recently. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these. Have you read Fushigi Yugi, one of the greatest shoujo manga of all time? Have you read old manga like Urara or Rasetsu? Let me know. Do you also not like Golden Japanesque? Let me know. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more manga goodness from me. That is all I've got for you guys today. I'm Chrissy Lou. Till next time, matane!